Marshall Mathers, aka Eminem, without me. Kumaar Bagrodia is in studio, and like I told you yesterday, this is going to be an engaging discussion on neuroscience and all the developments made in peak brain sciences by Neuroleap, which is what he represents.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Great to see you, my friend. How are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, Hrishikesh. Great to be here.
Let's talk about how things used to happen in the world, in the universe of neurosciences, and how things have evolved, and how new technology has really helped us take a mammoth, giant leap.
Hrishi, interesting you mentioned about how technology is helping us take that leap. You know, up until the mid-1980s, the entire medical fraternity worldwide assumed that the human brain could not change once it achieves adulthood. So it was assumed that, once you're in your mid-20s, you're set in your ways and you cannot change. But neuroscientists proved it to the rest of the world that till your last breath, your brain can actually physically change. It just needs the right circumstances, the right environment, the right impetus to do that. And today that impetus is being provided by technology. Technology that started its development in the homes of NASA and DARPA back in the 1960s. NASA realized that it wanted to be able to impact its astronauts' brains to think and behave differently. And that's when they started working on this technology. And it's overall sort of evolved over the last 50 years, and now it finds its use in several clinical applications across the world.
Okay, we're streaming live audio online across the nation on www.onecast.in. That's numeral 1cast.in. And statutory warning only if you're not driving. It means if you're in the back of a chauffeur-driven car or a radio taxi, or you're at home or at the office without a radio set, then you can catch us Facebook Live on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/radio1.mum. That's radio1.mum on Facebook. So, Kumar, what kind of technology are we talking about? And before you lead into that, wiring people up, and I mean literally, tell us what DARPA is. We all know what NASA is, but what is DARPA?
So DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and it is part of the US government. And NASA and DARPA have been at the forefront of investing and researching some of the most advanced medical technologies we have available, have been backed by their support, both in terms of money as well as thinking over the years. When you talk about technology, Hrishi, it's important to understand that all throughout when we talk about how we need to have a strong mind, how we need to have a strong personality, we are talking about the mind, which really is an intangible. What's important is to understand that everything that the mind does is dictated by the brain, the sole organ which is responsible for everything going on in your mind. So it's important to make that shift to say that it's not about just mental health, thinking about the mind, it's about the brain. So it's as, funny as saying, listen, I've got high cholesterol, and, if I want to improve that, I need to go and see a counselor who'll counsel me and my cholesterol will be lower. Right, so the brain is an organ. If there's a dysregulation in the brain, it'll affect the mind. Or if the brain is aging and your cognitive abilities are reducing, so your ability to remember names, faces, memory, your ability to react quickly, your ability to take a deep breath and step back, all of that starts reducing with age, because your mind, the brain, the physical organ, is not what it used to be. You're losing neurons every day. The brain has about 100 billion neurons on an average. It's about a 1.5 kg piece of mass of tissue. And with 100 billion neurons, each one of them has 1 to the power of 10,000 connections.
Wow.
So one neuron is not just connected to the next one. Each one is connected to 10,000 others. So that means 100 billion raised to the power of 10,000. That many connections, that many opportunities for things to go wrong, that many opportunities for things to go right.
We're talking applied neuroscience, and we're going to be back with Kumaar Bagrodia right after this. Justin Timberlake, Say Something. I'm Hrishikesh. Say Something, Justin Timberlake, Chris Stapleton on the playlist at 21 minutes past 9 a.m. Neuroleap, Peak Brain Sciences, and more with Kumaar Bagrodia, the pioneer in studio. This is really interesting. More conversation.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Now, what kind of conditions are we talking about? Now, you made a very important statement saying that it is a condition of the brain and it needs to be treated. Counseling is all right, no disrespect to counselors. But then you do find people giving substances and chemicals, and that couldn't all be easy on the body. So what are we talking about here? Do you map the brain by wiring the brain? How do you go about the treatment? And what are the various ailments you're using it for right now?
So, interesting question, Hrishi. It's not just for ailments. Let me take a step back. There was a fitness revolution worldwide which came to India all through its 80s and 90s, right? We suddenly realized that the way to better health is to be physically fit. Unfortunately, that revolution never moved beyond the neck, right? So starting from the toe upwards till the neck, we wanted to get better biceps, pecs, chest, everything. It's time now to take that logic forward and be progressive and look at the fitness of the brain. And literally, the brain is an organ. Just as you exercise your heart and every other muscle, you can exercise your brain. It's almost like going to a brain gym. But the brain is far too complex to exercise, physically just by itself. You need to have a computer now. So what the technology we are talking about is a brain-computer interface. Simply put, the brain-computer interface, or BCI as it's popularly known, is a technology which connects your brain to a computer and reads in the responses of the signals that the brain is given. So for example, if you know everything that you do, whether you think, you feel, you react, you bat an eyelid like you're nodding at me right now, all of it requires millions and millions and millions of neurons to fire within a microsecond. The firing has to be synchronized. Otherwise, when you see people are stumbling or people have a lopsided walk, right, or are not able to hold things properly, it's because neurons are misfiring, right, or they are not firing in the right quantum and speed or in the right coherence. So all of this can be trained to be better. So it's not just for ailments, it's also just to improve yourself. If I asked you, wouldn't you want to have better memory or better creativity, better innovation, or better sleep, more restful sleep? So instead of sleeping longer hours, sleep shorter hours, but wake up fresher and more restful, or better decision making. So that is an entire space for improving one's brain. That's one side of it. The second part, as you questioned, was what are the ailments that you can cure? So right from things like depression to migraine or tinnitus, which is ear ringing. Interestingly, ear ringing is not a disorder. It is a symptom. It is, in a way, I would call it nature's way of telling the individual that there's something going on with your brain which you need to correct. You can cure ADHD, ADD, dyslexia, hypertension, anxiety, all of the things which currently is assumed that only can be, the only recourse is to look at neurochemicals to be ingested, so basically psychiatric drugs. All of that can be done without drugs, only using technology.
No, but how does it work? I mean, it's simple. Do you wire a person up? I understand that you hook them up to a computer so that, you get data fed into the computer.
Sure.
But how does the cure actually happen?
So, interesting. There's a concept called neuroplasticity, which means that the brain, the gray matter in the brain, can actually physically increase or decrease. And obviously, as you know, more gray matter is better for us. How do you, go about increasing gray matter? You use operant conditioning. Operant conditioning basically is giving a person impetus to change his or her behavior. But we are giving this impetus using technology so that the behavior change is not coming from the mind. It's not conscious behavior change. It's happening at the organ level, at the brain. So the first step is to take a deep reading of all the brain waves. So the first time the person comes to our center, you actually hook up on a BCI. There's a headset which you wear.
What's a BCI?
The brain-computer interface. So once you wear the headset, it takes in about 500,000 data points from your brain, right? And that is fed onto a server in the US. After some time, we get a detailed brain map report on where the deviations are from the norm. So there are millions and millions of paths, networks, connections in the brain, and you can actually today map and say what is deviant, where, what kind of frequencies are higher or lower than expected, where is the amplitude, where is the power, where is the coherence, where is the connectivity. Sorry, a lot of jargon I'm throwing at you.
No, fair enough.
But all of this is mapped. We then understand the symptoms from the patient.
Hang on just a minute. Let's listen to you listen to the news. I want a new drug, and come back after he understands the symptoms, how he goes about this thing. Kumaar Bagrodia in studio. You listen to the news. I want a new drug at 9:31 live online across the nation on www.onecast.in. That's numeral 1cast.in. You can also get Business One, India's first audio business channel. There in conversation now with Kumaar Bagrodia, the pioneer, who's talking about neuroscience and all these wonderful developments at Neuroleap, Peak Brain Sciences. More conversation.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
So let's continue. For those of you who tuned in late, he was talking about how he hooks people up to a brain interface, a computer, and he reads millions of data points, uploads it to a server, and then he gets results. After that, how does the treatment start, Kumar?
Yeah. So, once we've hooked up the person to the brain-computer interface, so let me clarify there. When we say hook up, there's nothing invasive about it. So, we don't stick any electrodes into your brain. We don't put you into an MRI machine. There is zero magnetic waves, no electric current, no ultrasound, no sonography, nothing going into your brain. We are only reading the signals that the brain is emitting, right? And that honestly is also the way the treatment progresses. So in subsequent sittings when you come, again you're wearing the same headset and you're hooked up to the brain-computer interface. This time, instead of simply recording the signals, we are monitoring them in real time. And every quarter second, the computer calculates that how the brain waves are behaving vis-a-vis the problem or the symptom or the area of the brain that the person wants to enhance. So let's take, for example, depression. It's not like a depressed person has no good brain waves, right? There are some amount of brainwave activity which is happening in the right direction, albeit in lower quantity compared to an average or normal person. The brain-computer interface is sophisticated enough to take in a quarter second all of the data of the brainwave activity and decide whether this is going in the right direction for that quarter second or no. If it is going in the right direction for that quarter second, the person who is looking at a television screen that time live starts to get a feedback. The feedback is by way of a score, a beautiful piano sound, or some light. And that's all that the person needs to know, that if you hear the sound, if you see the light, if you see the score, your brain is performing well. So on a 30-minute session, you'll keep seeing this light go on and off, keep hear the lovely piano sound go on and off, and keep seeing your score either increase or stagnate. And that is a form of operant conditioning, which I had mentioned earlier. Operant conditioning basically is a form of learning for the brain, where an individual changes its own behavior because of the results of the behavior. So here I'm getting to understand my own behavior, not my mind, not my overall sort of persona, but my brain's behavior at a split second, every quarter second. And that immediacy, that frequency of feedback is what is invaluable to the human brain.
And you're saying, scientists have been struggling for such a long time to find a cure for Alzheimer's. You don't claim to have a cure at all. But you're saying that there are certain positive signals that you can send out even to a certain degenerating brain. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
So, the two disorders or conditions that our technology cannot cure are Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. But what you can do is alleviate some of the symptoms associated with it and arrest the progress. Because Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and actually affect the physicality as well. And some of that physicality can be arrested in terms of its symptoms, in terms of further degeneration. But, reversing it is currently not possible.
So deviate in terms of pain. Fibromyalgia?
Yes, fibromyalgia.
Epilepsy, for example?
Yes, absolutely. So like I said, besides Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, everything else, pretty much. So, I've got a laundry list, ADHD, ADD, dyslexia, all kinds of learning disabilities, addiction. So you can actually aid people who want to get off addiction. You can aid people who want to quit smoking, who want to reduce their abuse of alcohol, who are addicted, let's say, to sugar. So millions of people have been using this, of course, with varying degrees of success on, controlling their eating disorders, sticking to their diet, things like that. So anything.
So what happens when you wear a headset and then you have a sugar craving? That's not a good sign. So you get a minus mark for that. Is that the way it works?
No. So what happens? No. So what we do is we don't work on punishment in the operant conditioning. We work only on positive reward. So as the human brain, the two distinguishing features to the human species. One, of course, is the fact that our human brain is hardwired for progress. Yep. There's a reason why we went from being a caveman to discovering fire, to inventing the wheel, to getting onto the moon, now to internet, to online radio shows, the works. Everything that the human brain assumes is good for him or her will be done. It's a different fact that we always don't know what is good for us. And we many times, mankind has been progressing in our own way in the wrong path. Whether it is looking at development which is destroying the ecology, or looking at, excessive use of pills which is destroying our body. But the fact is we are always hardwired for progress. And the second thing is the human brain has a feature called self-regulation, which means our brain can regulate itself as long as it's given the right circumstances, the right impetus, the right environment. Unfortunately, the times and the environment we live in doesn't provide that, right? So if we are able to provide that using technology, that immediacy of feedback, all of these disorders can be treated. And I shouldn't say can be treated, they are being treated.
Okay, you have any questions or comments? One space, your comment and your name to 53650. 53650 is the in-studio SMS line. On Twitter as well as Facebook, go to the search bar, type HRISHIKAY, will pop up. You could tweet out or post in the timeline inbox along with your name. Facebook.com/radio1.mum is our official page. Any comment or question for Kumaar Bagrodia, please drop it in the timeline inbox along with your name. Happy to bring it up in the show. We're going to take some messages and come back in a bit.
94.3 Radio 1.
The first solo album from Sting, Dream of the Blue Turtles. If you love somebody, set them free. An explosive album opener for the great man. Kumaar Bagrodia talking neuroscience. This is Neuroleap Peak Brain Sciences. In studio with me. Now your questions.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Radio 1.
Priyanka Kartari on Twitter. Good morning, Hrishikesh. Can you please ask him if it helps with traumatic brain injury? As the brain has high plasticity, does it help in accelerating the healing of injured parts of the brain?
Absolutely. The assessment that we do, the brain function mapping assessment, gives an indication on TBI or traumatic brain injury. Depending on what the symptoms are as a result of the TBI, we can start looking at ways to improve the functioning and alleviate the disorder of those symptoms.
V. Srinivasan, sounds very Star Trek-y. How old is this tech? Also, what did the clinical trials say?
So this technology, like I had mentioned earlier, was initiated by NASA and then DARPA. So NASA from the 1960s has been using it on astronauts. The entire US Armed Forces, Army, Navy, Air Force have been using it to treat PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, on Afghan war veterans. And it's the same tech exactly that we are leveraging now in India. There have been about 1,500 peer-reviewed scientific journal papers that have been published in the last 25 years on various platforms across the globe. If you go to the National Institute of Health and National Institute of Mental Health websites in the US, and you will see tons and tons of research papers available talking about the efficacy and efficiency of this protocol.
Prithwijit Mukherjee, typically what's the duration and the cost associated with this?
So each session of what I had described earlier on the show takes about 30 to 35 minutes. There's a complementing therapy also which we do, which is called psychophysiological coherence. Sounds a bit of again, Star Trekky, but basically what it aims to do is bring your mind, brain, and your physiology in coherence, in sync with each other. And that takes about 20-25 minutes. So altogether, each visit to our center takes about 1 hour, 1 hour, 10 minutes. Both of these two sessions together costs about 10,000.
So you're saying you could go, your each individual session later would be follow-up sessions.
Yes.
But your first one would cost you 10, and then subsequent sessions could cost you how much?
No, the first session which you come for is the brain function mapping, which is a one-time.
Yeah,
So that's
a
the time when we want to understand your brain. That costs 25. I said that data and that report comes from a US-based, enterprise. The subsequent sessions are the 10,000 rupees per session. So in each visit you come, there will be 2 therapies minimum given to you, and together those 2 therapies are 10,000. Usually it takes about 25 to 30 sittings for a person who's suffering from some amount of depression, or let's say ADHD or dyslexia, or looking at OCD, or looking at memory improvement, or improving your executive functions. For an average person, it would take about 25-30 sittings. But mind you, this is a cure we are talking about. It is without any medication, without any side effects, without any invasive procedure whatsoever.
Kannan Rana, can you increase IQ levels in a kid who has borderline IQ?
Yes, certainly possible. One needs to first do a brain function map assessment on the child to understand what are the dysregulations which is leading to low IQ, and once those dysregulations are alleviated, the IQ will be better.
Pooja Punjabi, would Kumar recommend a book for someone who wants to have a better understanding of neuroscience, just beginner's level?
Ms. Punjabi, interesting question. I've been studying this for 3 years now. So loads of books available there. I think if you go to Amazon and just type in neuroscience, science of the brain, you'll find a bunch of books. I'm not sure how many of those are for beginner levels, but certainly a wide variety available.
We're going to say bye-bye to him up ahead. We're at the 9:52 mark. Here's Sheryl Crow. All I want to do. Kumaar Bagrodia in studio talking neuroscience. We're a far way away from Santa Monica Boulevard, but we're talking about interesting things, in particular neuroscience with Kumaar Bagrodia, the pioneer. Neuroleap, Peak Brain Sciences. And a last leg of conversation, one question from you guys off the SMS line, and then some famous last words.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Radio 1.
Your last 4 digits are 8575. Can you treat schizophrenia? Are there any side effects?
So there are no side effects of using this technology. Like I said earlier, we don't use any radiation, no magnetic waves, no electric current, no medication, hence no side effects. It leverages the brain's own ability to self-regulate. And yes, schizophrenia can be treated with this.
So, yeah, what are your famous last words? What would you like to say about something that a lot of people are going to be a little skeptical about? Anything new which you try and push through.
Sure.
I mean, like it or not, medicines and the ingestion of medicines is, perhaps as old as we are as a country.
Absolutely. Well,
Ayurvedic or otherwise, I mean, yeah.
So this is really an effort to wean us away from that frenzy of ingesting pills. We get patients who've been on antidepressants for 8, 10, 12, 15 years who are just not able to get off it. Or kids who are on ADHD medicine, or ladies on migraine medication. And none of these offer a cure. Every time you try to wean yourself off, you relapse most of the time. What we are offering really is a cure. There is no relapse, there is no side effect, there is no medication, no invasiveness. And, one shouldn't view this just as expense. It is important to view this as an investment in your body, in an investment in your brain. In closing, I would say it's time that we start leveraging technology to actually unlock the limitless potential of our brain, not just our mind, because our mind in a way is software, and you cannot use the latest software on hardware which is degenerating. Your hardware is your brain, and it's time to take care of it.
Well, do you have some trained neurologists on consultancy, on call, and who are the kind of people who are operating there? I know it's all the data that's uploaded onto a server that goes into the US and things like that, but just your patient handlers, so to say, who would they be?
So we have assistants at the center who manage all this, and no, we don't have neurologists or psychologists or psychiatrists on board, for the simple reason, to put it very bluntly, we don't need them. They don't understand this technology. This technology has been around for 50 years. Of course, in a very primitive format, but it's been around since 1960s in a very primitive format. The tech that we are using is absolutely new. It's cutting edge, and pretty much nobody understands it around.
Okay, how can one reach you? Is there any website that you'd like people to go for further reading? I found a lot of this fascinating, but at the same time, there are skeptics in us who turn around and say, there's nothing going in, it's not invasive. How are you going to use gestures to cure epilepsy, even if it's positive gestures on a television screen? But further literature that one can read as far as neuroscience is concerned.
Sure. And you're right, Rishi. People will be skeptical, just as with adoption of any new technology. But the good thing is, adoption of digital technology in healthcare has been the fastest in human evolution. So it took us many years to adopt electricity or radio or television or mobile phones or social media. But digital healthcare is the fastest because we've understood that there is no other way right now. You have to end this pill-popping way of existing. We have a website, www.neuroleap.science. So there's no .com, it's neuroleap.science. There's a ton of information available there, including links to articles talking about the core philosophy and the core way this works from the world's top media agencies. So whether it is the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, BBC, CNN, Quads, Washington Post, all of them have been tracking the benefits coming out of this technology in the last 10 or 12 years.
Thanks a lot, Kumaar Bagrodia. All the best. Cheers. See you soon. Yeah.
Thank you, Hrishi.
Up ahead, people united, India united. You don't want to go anywhere. The stroke of 10, it's Hrishikesh.
94.3 Radio 1.